Magnitude 7.1 earthquake rocks Mexico City and surrounding areas. You can see here this just happened less than an hour ago. And if you think about the population in Mexico City, there's almost 9 million people just in Mexico City. But if you look at the metropolitan area of over 21 million people, this could be a big deal, especially if this is a sign of things to come. Now, if you remember, on the 8th, I think it was, a week and a half ago, there was the 8.2 quake that rocked this part of Mexico. Where are we at? Right here, close to Guatemala. And that was an 8.2 week and a half ago, now a 7.1. And this is southeast of Mexico City. But if you look at the, let me zoom in here a little bit for you. The areas that were affected goes beyond Mexico City. This is a map of the location via Google. Mexico City, you can see right there. And then previously, a week and a half ago, this general area right around here. Now, I heard via conspiracy theory, via the internet, and you know how much validity you can put into everything that's on the internet, because everything on the internet's true, right? And I hope you know I'm being sarcastic. What if there's some type of weapons testing going on in Mexico? Like maybe they're testing some type of nuke or something. Maybe North Korea is using that area to test their weapons. Maybe some cartels. Maybe it's just from the Earth's natural tectonic plates that move and do their thing. So, have you ever thought about that or wondered that possibility when you hear about a huge earthquake? Like, could there be some type of weapons testing going on? I don't know. But it's interesting to see that this is actually the time frame. Let's go to the time frame here. I'll show you a couple headlines. Los Angeles Times, powerful 7.1 quake strikes Mexico City, severely damaging buildings. The Guardian, the Mexico earthquake, powerful tremor hits on anniversary of major 85 quake. Plenty of information about it, plenty of articles to read. But let's take a look at, let's zoom out here for a second and look at a couple of these models. You can see the area. I mean, this rocked Mexico. It affected a large landmass. Let's look at a couple other maps here. We'll look at the regional information. Okay, so nearby places. Puebla, Mexico, population 1.59 million. Several cities that are pretty good in population besides Mexico City, northwest of that area. You know, and that makes me think also, what happens if LA gets pummeled by an earthquake? I mean, they've been talking about it for a long time now. It's long overdue. Some people think the entire coast could just break off into the ocean, be an entirely new island. Talk about a massive island, huh? The island of California. Hotel California. How about, what was that? Welcome to LA or Prison LA or something that had Kurt Russell. Escape from LA. Remember that? You see that movie? Also, he was Snake Plissken in Escape from New York. And in watching Transformers yesterday, before I lost interest, I need to go back and watch it again, but I don't know. We'll see. The most recent one. When one of the cities, I think it was like New York City actually, or a very large city, was quarantined because of the Transformers, the aliens. Oh, and one thing that I really didn't like about this movie is they painted a picture of Merlin. He was just a drunk that had Transformer technology, and that's what gave him the magic. I didn't like that at all. I think that they were painting a picture. Merlin was definitely more than a drunken transformer hippie. Okay? I'm just saying. But anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. New York City, or there's this large city that's getting quarantined, or that was quarantined, made me think of Escape from LA, Escape from New York. What happens if the powers that be decide to literally just quarantine an entire city? What happens if there's a huge disaster, whether it be man-made or natural disaster or a combination of both, and the powers that be to say, you know what, we're just going to quarantine the entire city. Nobody comes in or out. The ultimate FEMA camp. The ultimate, like, what would that be like? What would happen if, let's use Houston as an example. What happened if they quarantined the entire city of Houston after this Hurricane Harvey brought in the flooding, and let's say it brought in some type of plague or parasite or bacteria or virus that became it started to spread extremely fast, very lethal. Would they just shut the entire city down? And how would they do it? And let's say they decided to do it, and let's just say the entire government goes into meltdown martial law, and they quarantine entire cities. No one comes in or out, or else. Is that going to be the wave of the future? Do you think that there might be some predictive programming in the films Escape from LA and Escape from New York? Especially when you watch films like Transformers, TV shows like Fringe that show entire, like multiple blocks getting quarantined in large cities, sometimes entire cities. That would be a trip. I mean, Chernobyl, but you can go into Chernobyl if you really want to. Fukushima, but there's people already back in Fukushima. What would happen if an entire, let's say a population like Mexico City, for example, let's say that somehow the powers that be found out a way to quarantine and block and close all of Mexico City and surround, let's just say Mexico City, 9 million people almost. Then what? What happens in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years? How long does it last? What would be produced from that scenario? And also, good energy and vibes to those that have been affected from these earthquakes in Mexico. There's some very good people in Mexico. There's a lot of Wild West stuff going on out there, that's for sure. And in certain areas, it's like war zones. And most people just want to have enough to provide for their family and do their thing and live their lives. So it's unfortunate when you see, at least the way that the media paints a picture of many areas out there in Mexico being in dire straits because of the political landscape, the laws, the cartels, and everything in between. We live in fascinating times. And as much as we do complain about what's going on here in the U.S., if you live in the States, we still certainly have it, in my opinion, a lot better than most. And there's a lot of great opportunities for us here. And I think we can build upon it and make it even more fantastic as time goes on. Because we always have that option to be the change. And as long as we can think outside of the box and come up with win-win situations, maybe we could come up with solutions instead of having huge cities and areas that are prone to earthquakes and natural disasters. If that's going to be the case, then build structures and facilities that can withstand, hopefully, the consequences, the side effects, so there won't be as much pain and suffering. What's your take? Question everything. Be the change you want to see.